Hi, this is Angie Tucker again. I'm the board member with Revelation Gardens, and Revelation Gardens is a Benton County nonprofit working to reduce the number of pets in need in our community. Uh, this is our third weekly podcast, and we're going to have podcasts on Sundays at 2 to talk about all things related to pets. Today's topic is what to do if you find an animal in need. Before we jump in, I'd like to remind you of our founding scripture, Revelations 21:4. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Today, our guest speaker is Tracy Chapman.
Hi, guys.
Uh, she is from Texas, and she is of Irish and Cherokee descent. Me too. She says she grew up with a deep belief in stewardship. She believes we each have a calling. She has one child, a son who is 28 years old. He is an executive chef in Austin, Texas. She is a former EMS and was in the fitness industry for 20 plus years, and she has been involved in shelter and rescue work and wildlife rehab since the age of 15 or 16. Her hobbies are roller skating, ice skating.
Correct. Both speed skating and what's called jam skating or groove skating.
Oh, wow. For 47 years since she was born, I guess, and doing anything that gets her outdoors. She has two dogs and usually has reptiles, but doesn't have any right now. And she's what are you called at our?
I'm the director of Benton County Animal Shelter.
Okay.
I've been there for just over a year now.
Okay. So, first of all, tell me a little bit about your experience with rescue.
Rescue, that goes back. Most people start in rescue because they happen to come across a stray animal roaming or running, and um, they see this animal in need, and they choose to step in. I'm no different. That is exactly how it happened for me at a very young age. Um, Younger than 15 or 16, but that was probably more along the lines of collecting when I was younger because, of course, I didn't take care of them. My mother would have done that. But at about the age of 15 or 16, I found a very skinny pregnant cat, and she was desperately in need of some attention and some help. I took her in, and she did subsequently have the babies and everything. And I realized that I needed help from this point forward with her, and got in touch with my local open intake shelter where I lived at the time on the coast, and moved forward from there. I ended up fostering her. The kittens got adopted, and I fostered her for, oh golly, it was probably a few months before she finally found a home. So that was my first real foray into rescue, and as I said, that's how most people start out.
Okay.
So,
So our topic today is what if you find an animal in need? So what if I see an animal that is obviously feral? So what maybe it needs medical care, or maybe it's just thin, or maybe it's a nuisance in my area. What do I do if I find an animal that is feral?
first rule of rescue is never rescue without a plan. You need a plan first. The plan can be elaborate, many steps, big. You have contacts, you reach out to them, so on and so forth. Or the plan can be very small, as in, okay, I see this need. I know that I can contact my local shelter, whether it's an open intake or managed intake shelter, or I know about this group or that group, such as Revelations Gardens. I can reach out to them. So have a plan. Know first before you take any action involving that animal. Keep an eye on it, but start formulating a plan of finding out who you call and start contacting them, and then go from there. Whenever you contact an open intake shelter, and if it's a cat or a dog, you need to understand that that is an open intake shelter for a reason, and that euthanasia may take place. But then again, it may be in that animal's best interest at that point. A lot of people don't like that, but sometimes that is the kindest thing to happen for that animal. Open intake shelters don't generally have a budget to manage very expensive medical procedures. So it's kind of touch and go. You need to call, you need to talk with them, you need to get more information. Every shelter can be different as far as that is concerned. We have had at our facility, we have managed some quite expensive medical cases. Not that it came out of our county pocket, but we did fundraisers, donation please, and we had other nonprofits step in as well and pay for those procedures and subsequently take those animals and then put them up for adoption. So there are many ways around it, but the main thing is, first step, keep an eye on the animal and get a game plan with knowing who to call and calling them.
Oh, that's good. I had never thought about it because I've seen, feral animals and I wasn't quite sure what to do. And especially, and I like that you said sometimes that's what's best for them. I think sometimes that's so hard for us. We want them to get home and become well and all that, but sometimes they're just suffering. Yeah.
That is very true. You can put money and effort and time and love into trying to save an animal, uh, but sometimes that's just delaying the inevitable and it's causing them more anguish. It's never fun, it's never easy when it comes to euthanizing an animal, but sometimes that release is what they need. Sometimes it is just time, and you're only, as I said, delaying the inevitable, and um, prolonging unnecessary pain.
Um, what if I see an animal in somebody else's yard that I think needs help? What do I do about that?
First, again, keep an eye on the animal and try to find out if the animal belongs to somebody in the community, especially if it's a cat or a dog. Uh, See if it's your neighbors. Did you maybe have new neighbors move in? Maybe it's their dog, and that's the reason why you've never seen it before. That type of thing. If you reach out and you can't find any answers, again, you can always call your local shelter. Um, we again, we can do an animal like that as a straight intake. We can even come out, set a trap, assist with getting this animal. We just picked up one yesterday. I sent the ACO out to pick up a dog that had some head trauma off of a property here in Camden. The property owners came out, found the dog. There was a whole lot of blood. Um, Fortunately, there was more blood than injury, but he did have some head injury. Likely may have been grazed by a vehicle. ACO went out, managed to get him over to the local vet, where he is comfortably staying for the weekend until he can have surgery tomorrow. He has to have some maxillary surgery, some oral surgery. Um, so that we can always assist with those types of things, given that we know about it and given that I can get an ACO out there in time. Our ACOs are only part-time employees, so keep in mind they do have other jobs, and we're a very large county. This is a very large county size-wise, and we probably get uh, 10 to 12 ACO calls a week minimum. Minimum. That's anything from bites to attacks on livestock, all kinds of other things. So we're attending to a lot of calls, not to mention all of the animals at the shelter. But that's your first game plan. Again, is look to see if it belongs to anybody directly in your community, and then call your shelter. If it's wildlife, you can call us to get some information, although we cannot directly help you with wildlife. You can call TWRA, things like that, for wildlife as well.
Okay. So if that dog in the neighbor's yard is tied up and I know it's their pet, but it's in need of medical attention or it's not being fed or it's not sheltered properly, what can I do to help that animal?
What you can do to help that animal is, again, call us. Uh, we will get basic information from you. Yes, we are going to get your name and your address and your phone number. No, we're not going to give that out to anybody. That's for our use only. Um, when we ask you for the details that we ask, it's important that you be as detailed as possible and give us and answer as many of our questions as you possibly can. The more information that we have, the better we can assess the situation and determine, okay, can this wait a day, or do I need to get somebody out there right now? With the information that you give us, we're going to triage it and see do we have cases that are more urgent right now, which sometimes we do. Sometimes we have animals that may be dead within a matter of minutes. But then we can get an ACO out there and further assess the situations. A lot of times I go out with the ACO. We will assess the situation. Um, those situations there can be many reasons an animal may need help. An animal may need help because the owner themselves need help as well. A lot of times it is not necessarily a case of blatant disregard where somebody does not care about an animal. Sometimes it is a lack of resources, sometimes it is a lack of knowledge, sometimes it is a lack of both. Maybe that person has been very ill for a long time and they don't have anybody else that they can rely on. But we can get out there and we can have a conversation with them and find out what's going on and see how we can assist not only the animal but the resident as well, and get some resolution on it.
I like that because sometimes I think we forget that it's not intentional, and they need help too. And I think Revelation Gardens does that as well, has lots of ways to help those people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
And
that's why I like this
they
place so much.
exactly, and Dawn does an amazing job here, and the service provided to the community is it's crucial. It really is crucial, and the fact that we can come together and provide those services for the community, and have each other's back. When I run out of food at the shelter to to uh, to give out to people who need, because we give food out as well. Um, if I'm strapped and I say, I really don't have any, but you know what? I know where you can go. This is where you can go. If I have other services that I just cannot provide, that I know Dawn can provide, I always say, you know what? I know where you can go. You need to go see this lady.
That's great.
But that's going to be key right there. Is if you see something, say something. Rescuing, there is I have seen in the rescue community over the decades that I have been in it, um, that there is a pervasive judgmental behavior and attitude, um, that really doesn't belong there. It really doesn't. Yes, there are individuals out there who do intentionally harm animals. People don't like to hear that, um, but it is a fact. There are people out there who will intentionally, and with no remorse, no regret, harm an animal. Um, but by and large, that's not the case. That is the exception and not the rule.
That's good. Thank God.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that is good, and yes, thank God. That is the exception and not the rule. In general, people don't want to hurt animals. They really don't. Even people who are not animal centered don't aim to hurt animals as a general rule. It might not be the first thought in their mind all the time, but it's not their first thought to harm an animal either. So call us. Um, Try not to be judgmental. Try to be as objective as possible about the situation. Um, because that's how we have to approach it as well, as objectively as possible. And let's work together as a community. That and the person doing that, the person that sees something and says something, I want everybody to realize that that's not somebody trying to stir up trouble as a general rule either. That is somebody that is genuinely concerned about the welfare of an animal. Um, some people have a deep calling for being concerned about the welfare of children, which we all should. Some people have a deep calling for the concern and welfare of animals. To me, that's all connected. But we each have that one facet that really speaks to us. So again, without judgment. Uh, on anybody's part, yeah, just give your shelter a call. You see something, say something, and let us get to work on it. Sometimes we can get the resolution um, that quote unquote the community is looking for. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes things are not always black and white. We do have to follow the law. Um, and if someone is abiding by the letter of the law, it might not be the resolution that you personally want or even the resolution that I personally want. But if someone is abiding by the law, um, then that is a resolution. Then that is a resolution that we have to stick with. And that's one of the things that you have to take into consideration when you step up is you're not always going to see the end result that you want. Most times you do, but you're not always going to see the end result that you are wanting or you are expecting, but you still did your part. You still did your part.
Well, I have a couple of examples of something that's happened to me. So this was right here out in this area. There was a beautiful pit bull looking dog just running around happy as he could be in the middle of the road. And so all the cars were stopping and he didn't know which way he was going or whatever. And I didn't know what to do because I couldn't take him home. It was a pit bull breed, so I wasn't sure about him. I didn't want him to get run over. It just upset me a lot. And what could I do in a situation like that?
In a situation like that, again, keep your eye on them. Don't go out into traffic. Don't risk yourself. Your best, if you have the time and you can pull off the road and just keep an eye on the animal. And again, call the shelter. We try our best to answer every single call. Um, I got to tell you though, guys, we get a lot of calls.
Yeah, I
I can be on my phone
Mm.
answering an ACO call, and I literally have calls repeatedly coming in as I'm gathering information about the current ACO call. Um, we try to get back to them. We try to get back to all the messages, but we have a whole lot of animals, and we have a whole lot of people.
Right.
Um, but again, persistence. You keep calling, you keep calling, you keep calling. You message on Facebook. Give us as many details. Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go to our Facebook page. Use that messenger link if you have access to it. Give a snapshot of the situation
I've
if you
been
can.
so happy to see people finding their dogs on Facebook.
Yes.
People will put, and we used to not have that, and so people have found their dogs through that.
Yes,
Yeah.
there can be a positive side to social
Yeah,
media.
that's right.
There can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, you use all the tools that you have at your disposal. Calling us, messaging on Messenger. Take a little snapshot of the situation and send it over to us right quick. Show us a picture of the animal. Give us a few details about where it is. And we're constantly. I've got that on my phone. I keep my phone with me. I can't always answer right in the immediate, especially if I have an animal in my hand, if I'm assessing an animal, and so forth. But we try to be very, very quick about it. Generally speaking, when one of us sees something like that, where there is an animal in the roadway, um, we one of us generally sees it, and we can act on it fairly quickly. If it can wait a minute, honestly, sometimes we have to let it wait a minute because we're dealing with an animal directly at the shelter at the moment, something of that nature. But you give us a call. Don't go out in the roadway. Don't risk yourself. Um, More accidents happen with people trying to rescue
That's
whenever
right.
they go into dangerous situations, into water, into the
Tornado.
roadway.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm. That's happened in this county where somebody went to save their dog in a
Yes,
tornado. Mhm.
yes. And I'm not even going to lie. Um, I am that
Yeah, yeah, I
individual.
know.
I
I
am
know.
that individual
Yeah.
myself, but I will tell you, don't risk it.
Right.
Don't risk it. Um, uh, but if you have the experience for animal handling and you have a lead, that's one thing. If you don't, leave that to us.
Okay.
Just keep an eye on it. Try if you can. If you can't, I understand. Nobody expects anybody to be 2 hours late for work, um, because they're trailing a dog or trying to
Right.
keep an eye
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
dog or something.
Yeah.
By no means. The fact of the matter is, and as much as I hate to say it and I hate to acknowledge it, we are not always going to save them all. We're not. Um, but we are darn sure going to try.
Yeah.
We won't be successful, but we are going to try. But that's what you do that in an instance like that. Give a call. And don't always assume that somebody else is calling
Yeah,
about the
that's true.
situation, unless you know for a fact that the person next to you is calling as well.
Mhm.
Don't always assume that somebody else is addressing the issue,
Mhm.
because a lot of times they're also assuming that
Yeah.
somebody else
Yeah.
is addressing the issue.
Right.
Even if it's just a, hey, I drove by and this dog is running in and out of traffic, I can't stop,
Yeah.
type of thing. Let us know and we will get somebody out there as soon as possible. Um, we currently have uh, a gentleman on staff. He's part time on staff, but he is taking ACO calls as well. Um, and a lot of times he very kindly takes ACO calls in his off time as well.
Yeah.
I take ACO calls. Uh, Scott Hill still takes some ACO calls.
Okay.
We're trying to let him focus on other areas, on other tasks that he has for the county at this point. Um, but we are trying to manage them. Dwayne Turner, the gentleman that I was just speaking about, that takes ACO calls, he is very experienced animal handler. He is a dog trainer, um, and I rely heavily on him, especially here recently over the past several weeks. He's a very good man.
Okay.
Um,
So let me ask you about this because this is something that my mom has a trouble with all the time. So what about feral cats? So to give you, she lives just right up here, and she always have feral cats show up, and then they have babies under her house,
yes.
and she's had them trapped before, and then they just come back, and she doesn't have food out or cats or anything, but it just happens all the time. And then I live right over here, and I know that Dawn says there's a feral colony. Well, they're right outside my house, like 5 or 6 of them, and you smell them. And so what do we do when there's like a feral colony, and they're either a nuisance or they don't look very good? What should we do?
Now, ferals, we're currently not taking straight up feral cats into the shelter. There's no, um, a lot of people think, oh, feral cat, I'll just trap it and I'll just take it to the
Oh,
shelter.
yeah.
Which, yes, a lot of shelters do take feral cats in and then they turn around and euthanize them. Um, People think, okay, that's a quick solution. It's really not. It's really not a solution to that problem, because you've just cost the county bare minimum $20 to just kill an animal. Um, if only one person did that every now and then for one or two ferals, financially speaking, that wouldn't be such a big deal. Financially speaking.
Right.
Um, But with all the ferals that end up, that if I took in every feral that every person wanted to bring to me, and then end up having to euthanize it because they truly are feral and would not make it in our shelter. We cannot handle them or anything. Number one, that's a whole lot of money spent just to kill an animal, which I feel is a shame and is wasteless, or wasteful, excuse me. Instead, we need to spay and neuter them. We need to trap, neuter, release. I am working on trying to get a TNR program up and running. I've just recently been able to work some different aspects of the shelter as far as part-time employees and their hours, so that I can concentrate a little bit more on programs such as spay and neuter vouchers for our residents and TNR, because feral colonies are an issue. They don't need to be killed, they need to be managed. They need to be spayed and neutered so that they are not procreating. A feral cat serves a purpose in a lot of situations. They are natural pest control. They will keep snakes off of your property, snakes that you don't want there. They will keep rodents off of your property.
So my question, I wonder about this. So Mom, she's the one that has the most trouble with it. Would it be better if she spayed and neutered the cat that was there? Would that keep there being more cats around, or would that bring more cats? Would she have to keep catching cat after cat after cat, or would it actually maybe stop for a while if she just took care of that one or two feral cats that got spayed and neutered?
That's going to depend on the colony themselves and what cats come around.
Okay.
Cats may accept other cats into the colony. They might not. It just depends on individual personalities and so forth of the cats. Like I said, a colony can grow and grow, but you also have to realize that some cats are rejected from the colony a lot of times. And then, of course, they move off, and another colony usually starts up somewhere. So the short answer to that question is, yes, the cat colony is probably going to grow, even if you don't see the cats that are being rejected. And they're going to go off and they're going to start another colony elsewhere. So, yes, it is important to try to catch all of the ones that are not spayed or neutered and have them surgically altered and their ear tipped. When you put it,
then you can tell who's been done.
Then you can tell, yes. But unfortunately, when you trap, you have to trap in a live trap. Now, the purpose of the ear tip or the ear dock is, once you see them in the trap, you don't have to lift their skirt or whatever, so to speak, to see if they're altered. You can just see the ear tip, and you can go, oh, okay, I can release this one. This is not the one that I wanted to catch. This is not one I need to catch. And then reset your trap and go about trying to get one that is not already altered, and move that way. But yes, ultimately, you want to get all of them. Is it a never-ending task in a lot of areas? Yes, it is. Yes. You may, after a while, you may see a lull in the numbers. You may get to a point where you're like, okay, I see them all. They're all fixed. They're all fixed. And then you'll see somebody come in. And it may only be one, but you still want to TNR that cat as well before another one of a different sex comes in that is not altered.
It's just never ending, is it?
It pretty much is.
So that's why spay and neuter is so important. People don't understand just their regular cat, their cat that you can catch and take care of. They're helping create feral colonies.
Very much so. Spaying and neutering and not allowing your animals to roam, especially your dogs, guys, especially your dogs, is key in keeping these numbers down in Benton County, any area. When you manage the numbers that you have, whether it's cats or dogs, in an area by spay and neuter, by rescuing, see something, say something, transports out of your facility, adoption from the facility, that type of thing. Not allowing your unaltered animals or other animals to roam, because even if your altered animals are roaming, I guarantee you somebody out there is seeing that animal, and there are people that will think that animal must not have a home. That animal must not be loved, and they will pick that animal up and they will take it to the shelter. So
or keep it at their
or
house.
keep
Yeah.
it at their house.
We had that
Yes,
happen.
yes.
Once, yeah.
Not everybody is of the same mindset on roaming animals. It is against the law to allow your animals to roam off of your property in Benton County, all of Benton County. They can be off of leash on your property, but the moment they step off of your property, it is unlawful. They are not allowed to roam off of your property. That's dogs, not cats. Cats are allowed to free roam. But again, TNR. If you TNR and we reduce the numbers, if we spay and neuter our dogs and we reduce the number of roaming and unaltered dogs, we are going to have less animals hit on the roads. We're going to have less animals that people are complaining about and coming onto their property, defecating on their property, causing property damage, you name it. Animals that are going hungry, less animals to rescue, which is always good. Less animals that need rescue is always good.
Because there's plenty of animals to rescue. We're never ending. Yeah.
And now I'm going to get to the little more serious part. If we control our numbers, we also have less attacks on our pets, less attacks on our citizens, less attacks on our livestock, which we have had a large number of in 2020. And believe it or not, guys, those dogs that are involved in those attacks, they need rescue too. They have been let down by a human at some point in time. They have not been trained, they have not been socialized, they have not been fed properly, they have not been properly contained. That is all being let down by a human somewhere at some point in time. Whether it's intentional or accidental, it was a letdown by a human. Those dogs need rescue too. They need to be pulled off of the streets. They need to be addressed in one manner or another. So that is a large part of rescue in and of itself. And if we can maintain that, we also have a better community for everyone to properly enjoy.
Well, the last thing I'm going to talk about is we're talking about what to do when you find animals, and we mentioned barely about wildlife. And
yes.
Because we live in this area, there's lots of wildlife. And how do we handle that? I know I've seen TV shows. You remember Opie finding the little bird, and having to take care of the bird. But then when I was younger, Mom and Dad would say, if you touch that baby bird, the mama won't take care of it, things like that. And so what do we do when we find maybe a possum or a bird or a squirrel, something that we don't know what to do with?
Again, first rule of rescue, never rescue without a plan. The first thing that you want to do is don't touch, just get a visual assessment. Get on your phone and start looking for things such as TWRA, so on and so forth. A lot of times TWRA doesn't want to be bothered with a bird.
Yeah,
they don't want to be bothered with a baby bird. They
right.
really don't.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily need to be either. There are a lot of tools out there that you can Google on how to address a baby bird. Baby birds, pick them up, and if you can reach the nest, put them back in the nest. If you absolutely have to, if you just cannot leave that baby bird down there on the ground, the next best thing, put it in the nest if you can reach it without having to get the 50-foot ladder out. Right. Yeah. The best thing that I can tell you, if you find a baby, is leave it alone. Honestly, the best thing to do is leave it alone. Unless that baby is in the road with traffic, something like that. If you find this baby out on your property, chances are mama knows it's there and mama is coming back. Okay, keep an eye on it from a distance if you must, but chances are mama knows it's there and mama will take care of it. Uh, Animals, for the most part, animals are just like any other mother. They're amazing. They're good mothers. They put babies in places intentionally to go about and go do their business and come back. Um, so unless there is an immediate present danger to that baby, first thing I would have to tell you is just leave it alone. That's your plan.
Okay.
That's your rescue plan, is leave it alone. Maybe reach out to the shelter. Um, Maybe reach out to one of the local wildlife. So we've got Izzy's Pond, Walden's Puddle. I know that they will answer questions a lot of times, and so forth. I'm pretty sure that if you reached out to Dawn Harris, she could probably give you some contacts, a little bit of information as well. Same for us. If you reach out to us, depending on the situation, I can kind of guide you through that as well. But I am not going to tell you, pick that baby up and take it into your home. 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, I am not going to tell you, yes, take that baby into your home. But you reach out, again, keep an eye on it, reach out, and start conversing with people who have done it, who have handled rescues before. If you feel like that animal needs immediate attention, um, I would definitely be on the phone with myself, with someone from TWRA, a wildlife rehabilitator, before you do anything.
And we have so much more access now.
Yes.
The internet has given us so much more, because just like you were saying, leave that baby alone. I've seen a video on Facebook, where they talked about leave that baby alone,
Yes.
they'd come back. But like just finding a person who was in wildlife rescue and being able to go, you can go on there and ask.
Absolutely.
I saw an owl, its wing is broken. What do I do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me tell you guys, an injured animal, an injured animal is a scared animal. A scared animal is an animal that's more likely to bite. And make no mistake, that old possum can give a nasty bite. I know from personal experience. The possum can give a nasty, and so can that raccoon.
Yeah.
And not to mention that there could be other dangers present, such as rabies. It's not highly likely, but it can that danger can be present. So I would definitely be hands off. Get on the phone with the professionals, someone who has the experience handling these types of animals, and equipment, guys, because there is special equipment used for that. And I understand that everybody, when they see something like that, they want to be a part and they want to see a resolution. You still can be.
Yeah.
You still can be, but unless you have animal handling experience and wild animal handling experience, I would highly suggest that you remain hands off, if at all possible. I would never recommend anyone go in and try to put their hands on a wild animal without prior experience and teaching doing that. So,
Well, for my last question for you, so how can we, the people of Benton County, make your job easier? What can we do?
spay or neuter your pets. Keep your pets from roaming, your dogs specifically. Please don't allow your dogs to roam. Uh, Volunteer. Get into the shelter and volunteer. Um, we get all kinds of comments about the shelter. Well, why do you need volunteers? Don't you have paid staff? What about this? Well, there can't be that many animals. Volunteer.
Yeah.
If you want to know the inner workings of your shelter, and we want you to know what the budget is. We want you to come in and see what kind of work we have. We want you to know how much staff we have, how little staff we have. We want your hands in there, not just to do physical work, but we need things like people just coming by and sitting with the kittens and the
That's
cats.
my favorite job.
And socializing
Yeah,
with them, because we get very scared kittens in there. We have nursing moms who need a break from their babies. We have dogs who are shy that need someone who can go into their kennel after it's cleaned and just sit and brush them or talk to them or just hold a paw. We have dogs with a ton of energy who would love to have somebody go out into one of our yards and throw a ball with them. We need volunteers in that shelter. We need people who are committed, who want to know every working aspect of that shelter and who want to commit to it. We really do. When you have an open intake shelter, and that's what we are, is open intake. If you're a Benton County resident and you have a dog that you want to surrender, it does not matter what the reason is. It does not matter the personality or behavior of that animal. It does not matter how sick or injured that animal may be. It doesn't matter how full we are. We have to take that animal. Now, we are managed intake for cats, but that's only because we're starting up the TNR. We've already started that some, and we have to be very careful with cats. We've already had one Panluke outbreak in our cattery. And cats are allowed to roam free in Tennessee, so that's why we've gone managed intake, because we're going to hit this from several angles to help with our cat situation. But dogs, it doesn't matter. We have a lot of dogs. We always have a lot of dogs. We rarely ever drop below 100% capacity. Last year we took care of 639 animals in that shelter. 3 people. There was 3 of us. There was myself, my assistant, and 1 other staff member for most of the year. And then I got 1 more staff member part-time, and that was it. We took care of 639 animals in 2020. 525 of those animals had never been in our system before. 525 brand new animals into our system. We only had 4 euthanasias for behavioral issues. They were dogs. We did lose a good number of kittens last year due to Panluke that came in. Panluke came in from a hoarding situation. And
I think that's amazing. Just 4 euthanasias out of all those dogs. What a good job.
And we did not euthanize for space at all.
Yeah.
We did 128 adoptions, and the remainder of those animals were sent out on transports to no-kill facilities. But guys, that is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work. I have my staff members work off the clock. My staff members volunteer their time. Not only are my staff members there on the clock, but my staff members do work off the clock, especially my assistant, Miss Joelle Costa.
Oh, yeah.
And
I had Joelle in school. Yep.
Yes, and my newest ACO, Dwayne Turner. They volunteer their time off the clock. I'm salaried, so technically I'm always on.
Yeah.
It's and I don't mind it one bit.
It's a
really
calling.
It
has to be.
You have to, it is something that your heart really has to be in. But those are the things that can make our job easier. Is get involved. Go to our board meetings. Come into the shelter. Whether it's cleaning kennels, I understand not everybody wants to scoop poop and spray down kennels. I get that. Some people don't mind, and if you don't mind, we surely will use you. But we have so many things that can be done directly with the animals. If you have materials that you can't use, uh, such as fencing, things like that, we need some repairs done, some better repairs done on some of our fencing areas. We've got them, yeah, mostly repaired
Mm-hmm.
at this point, but it could look a little better. It
Well,
really
it seems
could.
like to me, um, by helping the shelter, we're helping our county, and so that's
You do,
yeah.
you do. It is directly giving back to your county and to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The better the shelter runs, the more efficiently it runs, the more the higher number of residents and animals that we can assist, that correlates to a much better community directly because the animals are not out there causing accidents, uh, creating a danger, whether it's on the roadways or on our properties because animals are coming onto our properties doing things that they shouldn't be. Um, Disease, we have to remember disease is an issue. Uh, we keep all of those types of negative impacting factors off of the community when we are working with the shelter and organizations such as Revelations Gardens.
Yeah.
Um, you give back to your community directly in that, and you're going to see an impact in your community out directly on your streets.
Thank you so much for all you do for our county, Tracy. That's awesome. And I hope you find some volunteers by doing this. I hope we find some volunteers because we can use them too.
Yes.
Um, so that's our podcast for this week. Before we go, don't forget CAT is somewhere in this shot. If you can find him, just message us down at the bottom and say, "I found CAT. He was right there." Let us know. CAT is our uh, um, mascot cat, and he is somewhere in the shot. Um, we would like to thank our sponsors, the Camden Animal Clinic, and also Fox Sanitation came on this week, and we're very proud to have those people sponsoring us. Through their generous support, we're able to bring you this podcast each week. Next week, we will be talking about indoor versus outdoor needs with our guest speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Pascal, my friend and my vet. Remember, if you have a pet related question, email us at revelation.gardens@gmail.com. And same cat time, same cat channel. But dogs rule.